Hello guys, and after this video you are going to know exactly how to get full marks on Edexcel Language Paper 2 question 6. So let's dive into it. What is the question first of all? It will say something like, evaluate how successfully the writer presents the importance of planning in this extract. It'd be something along those lines. It's an evaluate how the writer has successfully done X. So this is a critical evaluation question, not just a summary of explanations. You're expected to make judgments about how effectively the writer presented an idea, like planning, escape, fear. So when we say critical evaluation, we're just trying to see, have they done it successfully? We're arguing, have they done this well? Have they really shown the importance of planning? That is what we're being critical of. So we're not just analysing, we're not just summarising it, we're not just explaining it, we're kind of assessing like how far did they do that? Think of something on a scale of 1 to 10. How well did they do it out of 10? Were they at a 9? Were they at 8? And why didn't they get that final 2 marks? Why did you give them an 8? Because maybe they didn't really show it in this part, or this part was more focused on something else. Just think about a scale. Where would you rate them, and why didn't you give them a 10 out of 10 for that? So marks for this is 15 marks. So time to spend is around 15 to 18 minutes. And the focus is evaluate how the writer's choices communicates their ideas and impacts the reader. So we try to look at the evaluation part, how successfully they've done that, and then what's the impact on the reader. So techniques to look out for evaluation. You're not just identifying features, you're making a judgment about their effectiveness. So like I said, out of 10, where would they sit? So we want to look out for language choices, like emotive verbs, metaphors, repetition. Tone. Are they confident? Are they tense? Are they reflective? Tone is what a lot of students never pick up on in terms of like what is the writer's tone. And you'll be able to gauge what the words they use, the way they phrase questions, the examples they give. That will tell you about their tone. Structure. Example, is there builds up? Is there shifts? Are there contrasts? Are the paragraphs short? Are they long? And then looking at perspective. Is it first person insight? Is it narrative voice? All 4 of those can count towards identifying methods. And then we just want to look at how effective they are. Now, one of the common mistakes for this question is this lack of evaluation. So an easy way you want to make sure that you can do that is, of course, have these evaluative words, have writer's choice, but you always want to make sure, guys, you have these structures with sentence starters that are proven against the mark scheme to tick off absolutely everything you need. Because if you've got a good structure, it'll make your life so much easier for writing up. So, for example, if we went on the light up here and we went on to paper 2, question 6.
So I'm picking a quote which supports the feeling.
And you'll see we literally break down every single part of the structure. We show you how to do it. Then we give you a model example so you can see to write it up. And I promise you, that is the way to boost your English language grade. Okay, let's dive into some key mistakes that students make. And if you avoid making these, I promise you it will boost your English language grade. No evaluation. That is the most obvious, but the biggest mistake students make in this question. They don't evaluate. So there's 2 things you want to ask yourself to make sure you evaluate. How does the writer try to present this idea? And how successfully do they achieve that aim? So are they actually trying to present this idea, and are they successful? And again, the best way I can explain to think of this, think of it through 1 through 10. What would you rate out of 10 for that idea, and why? Simple as. So let's look at this. A low-level example might say the writer shows the character making a plan. They write it in steps and it helps them escape. Boring. Doesn't tell us much. It's a basic description of what happens. It lacks any evaluation. There's no judgment of how effective or convincing the writer is. They don't tell us on this, out of 10, where the writer's sitting on a plan. How to fix it, we're going to use evaluative language like effectively, successfully, powerfully, vividly, persuasively, cleverly, all of those, and back these up, judgments with analysis of language and structure. So that's what we do. We're going to see out of 10, where do we think they sit in this? And a high-level example would be the writer effectively conveys the importance of planning through the methodical tone and logical sequence of actions. Done. Easy. I've evaluated. Because what I've done to see is out of 10, how well have they done it? And I'm just using my evaluative word. In saying like the writer is an 8 out of 10, I've said the writer effectively does it. Then I've explained it. Now, you can kind of argue why they're ineffective as well, but it's always easier to try and agree with the statement. Normally, it's set up in a way for you to agree with it. Mistake number 2, explaining why the question was important, not how it was shown. This is something that students do quite a lot. So this would be something like, planning is important, but it helps people avoid danger. Without a plan, things could go wrong. So that is explaining the importance of planning. Say that was the question. That's explaining it, but it's not linking it back or evaluating my writer's methods. So this explains the value of planning in general, but does not show the idea presented in the extract. And of course, linking back to our first mistake, doesn't show an evaluation of it either. So how you want to fix it? Focus on how the writer uses specific techniques like language choices, tone, or structure to present the focus of the question. So when think about like how have they actually done it? Think about just explaining to me, what is it that's told you that they've been effective in planning? If you think that they've been really convincing in displaying the importance of planning, how have they done that? Is it through certain language techniques? Is it through structure techniques? Is it the way that they have that tone? Do they have a very serious tone? Are they very emotional about it? What is it that's made you understand the importance of the question? So, for example, the writer presents planning as calm and calculated through the use of short, deliberate sentences, like I laid out the map and made a list. This structure mirrors the character's methodical thinking, which clearly demonstrates how the writer uses sentence construction to reflect the control and clarity that planning provides. So you can see what I've done there. I've not just stated it, I've given how it shows that. How does it show that? It's because I've said that it's linked back to planning and what it shows about planning. So the short sentences allow us to understand and really reflect on how methodical he is. So you can see the technique directly links back to what I'm saying. Really important thing to do. So many students, I can't even tell you, so many students mess up effects of techniques. Now, if you're not sure about effects of techniques, you should really know or pre-learn language techniques and structure techniques and know the effects of them. For example, let's go on a structure technique sheet here. What I would do is I would go through and I would make sure that I've revised at least 5, maybe 6 different structure techniques and their effect. So for example, asyndetic listing, I know is to increase the pace of a text. So if I spot an asyndetic list, which is also a very impressive structure technique if you can remember that, then all I've got to do is remember, okay, it increases the pace of the text and then just link it back to the statement. So say, for example, again, it's about the effects of planning or the importance of planning. If I've said, okay, the asyndetic listing increases the pace of the text, reflecting how excited the writer is about the importance of planning, that they speak so quickly, they almost can't get out their excitement about planning, whatever it is. But you can see how all you've got to do is once you learn the effect, then just try and link that effect to whatever you're talking about in the paragraph. And that, guys, is the way to make sure you smash question 6. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe. And of course, check out the Light Up Hub as well. If you have it already, make sure you go through it because that will literally have everything you need and way more on there.